viewers, for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe Television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. My name is Babla Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, Bishop George Nko and Christians of the 9 parishes of the Kumbu Diocese of the Roman Catholic Church in the northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon hit the streets pressing for the return to peace and normalcy in the crisis-hit northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. The man of God and the Christians are urging all those carrying guns, notably civilians, to drop their guns and return to the normal life trend so that peace can return in the communities of the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Human Rights Watch urges partners of Cameroon to compel the government to stop their arbitrary arrest and detention of opposition politicians. This is contained in the latest report of the International Human Rights Organization. Also in this edition of the news, we're going to show you the deplorable state of the trans-border road linking Cameroon and neighboring Nigeria. Those were our top stories. We begin this edition of the news on the road, and we bring into you images of the deplorable state of the trans-border road linking Cameroon and neighboring Nigeria. We're going to show you sections of that road in the northwest region of the country. The road has become a nightmare to commuters. For me, Armstrong Sander reports.
The Cameroon-Nigeria trans-border stretch through Ako subdivision in the Donga Mantung division, northwest region of Cameroon. Untarred, muddy, slippery and full of potholes, the 50-kilometer stretch that links Ako to the divisional chief town is a veritable nightmare to users.
Every day, there's almost 2 road. 1 week, you pass them 2 times, 3 times.
Accidents are recorded on this stretch on a daily basis. Look at the number of vehicles that have fallen just today. Look at the number lined up there. None of the vehicles is sure to get to its destination today. Sometimes, we are obliged to pay villagers to be able to push our vehicles. Those transported to hospitals and schools spend days on the way. We just want the government to find a temporary solution. People in this village suffer a lot.
Balance the place where we don't overbad for the road because people in the village this side over suffer.
The 50-kilometer stretch, initially done in 1 day, is now covered in over 3 days.
No, don't stop. We don't try our best. We don't try our best. We no go.
We have done what we can to save the situation, but to no avail. We used stones, but the road is still bad. We have spent 4 days on the road just to leave Ako for Jeju. We have come across several accidents along the road. It's so difficult.
Only for coming for 4 days. I've been climbing.
With numerous roadblocks and sustained security challenges on the ring road, basic goods consumed in the Bui and Donga Mantung divisions are brought in from the neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria through the town of Abong in the Taraba state and Ako in the Donga Mantung division.
And the government is blaming the fact that some of the construction works that ought to have been done has not been completed till now on the unstable socio-political and security situation in the northwest and southwest regions of the country as a result of insecurity. Government authorities say the construction works on some of the routes have been brought to a halt because of the impossibility or difficulty of carrying on with the construction works, while violence and gun battles between pro-independence fighters and security and defense forces continue in those two regions. And another impact of the Anglophone crisis is, of course, on education. There are several schools that have been crumbled by the security tensions in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. At Government Bilingual High School at Tiala in Bamenda, the francophone section of that institution is practically out of existence. Innocent reports.
The Francophone section of Government's Bilingual High School at Selankwen, Bamenda 3 subdivision is at the verge of disappearing due to the Anglophone crisis that left close to 30 students kidnapped by armed men.
We went through a lot of challenges, security challenges. Exactly 25 students were kidnapped between September 2018 when I took over and November 2019 when the last group of kidnapped took place. Amongst these 25, one was hurt. The rest were not hurt, but they were psychologically battered while in captivity. However, as of today, all the 25 students have been released, not without ransom, but thank God we didn't register any loss of life.
This wave weakened the rules of the establishment.
This school was a school that had an enrollment of above 3,000 before the advent of the crisis. Well, for the last 2 years, we have hardly had up to 800. In actual fact, the Francophone section of the school has really been hard hit. This year, all the students who passed, unfortunately, went to the other regions. So this year we didn't have any student in the examination class of the Francophone section. We had just one student in Katrien. So that section has really been reduced to almost inexistent by the crisis.
Benyela Godwin Tafuang, who has been a target of armed men, spared no efforts alongside his collaborators in ensuring doors of the school remain opened for children who anxiously want to assimilate knowledge and be leaders of tomorrow.
We were resilient and refusal to cede to intimidations from the separatists. So we were just resilient, both the teachers, myself, and the students. We want to believe that with the trend we are registering, this year might be better because the security situation is more mastered than before.
With the steady security measure put in place in and around the campus, enrollment rates have been rising and performances ameliorating from 2018 to 2020 after escalation of the crisis in 2017.
There have been net progression, and the progression in performance is as a result of the fact that the security situation is being masterminded, is being contained by the forces of law and order. The reason for this high level of rate of performance.
With the growing number of students this academic year and the stiff security disposition taken, the Francophone section is expected to recover from its shock.
At the start of this school year, there is some green light, there is some good news coming from that section because some of the Francophone students are coming back. We have the terminal class already operational. We have the troisième already operational, and there are already students registering for second.
Also, COVID-19 measures and the 50 students per classroom order are well respected by the school administration.
Innocent as a reporting there. And onto something else now. The Bishop of Kumbu, His Lordship George Ko, and Christians of the 9 parishes of the Kumbu Diocese of the Roman Catholic Church in the northwest region of the Republic of Cameroon took to the streets today from the 9 parishes, from the respective parishes, marching to the cathedral, pressing for a return to peace and normal normalcy in Cameroon, calling on all parties involved in the 4-year-long armed conflicts to stop all the violence, to stop the destructions, to stop the killings, so that peace and normalcy can return to the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. The bishop and the Christians are urging the civilians carrying guns to drop the guns and return to the normal life trend, so that peace can return in the communities of the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. This was taking place within the context of the month of the Rosary. October is one of the months of the Rosary of the year, and a Rosary Mass was celebrated at the cathedral, and all the Christians, all the men of God, calling for peace, calling for all, or urging all to give peace a chance, so that blood can stop flowing in those two regions, so that the destruction going on can stop and people can live normally. Take a listen to Bishop George Ko.
They have invited God to come down through the intercession of Our Lady, Mother Mary. Peace should reign, particularly beginning with Congo, beginning in our hearts. And a very special call to those who are using weapons of war, that they should drop their weapons and we should build peace. That's a clear message. And we build peace by loving one another. And we should break down the barriers of hatred and love one another. That's how peace is going to come. If we don't have peace in our hearts, there is no way we can build peace in the world. That's an invitation. Every single one of us invited to open our heart to welcome the peace that comes from Christ.
Human Rights Watch is urging partners of the Republic of Cameroon to compel the government to stop arbitrary arrest and detention of opposition politicians. This is contained in the latest report of the International Human Rights Organization. Smanjik and Gabriel reports.
According to the report that was published Monday, October 19, 2020, Human Rights Watch debunked the figures of arrested protesters of last September 22nd. Ilaria Allegrosi, senior African researcher at Human Rights Watch, said, according to Cameroon Renaissance Movement, over 500 people were arrested, with just 155 released. Lawyers of the party said 21 were taken before civilian court on various charges, including rebellion and participating in an illegal demonstration. 107 were taken before a military court on various charges, including terrorism and insurrection. 63 others continue to be held without charge, while the situation of others still in custody is unclear. The numbers differ as on October 14, Cameroon's communication minister Emmanuel René Sadi said 294 people were arrested, of which 176 have been released. The report also stated that Cameroon Renaissance Movement treasurer Alain Fogue and the spokesperson Olivier Bibou-Nissak, arrested on September 21st and 22nd respectively, are still left behind bars till date in the State Defense Secretariat, CERT, without charges. The president of Cameroon Renaissance Movement is also under house arrest. The case of the president of Cameroon People's Party, CPP, Edith Kabangwala, was also invoked in the report after her residence was surrounded by security forces on October 9, 2020. Human Rights Watch is reminding the government of Cameroon that the right to peaceful protest is guaranteed by its constitution and international human rights law. Thus, arbitrary arrest, mistreatment in detention, and unnecessary use of force to disperse protesters violate these guarantees and Cameroon's international obligations. Human Rights Watch said authorities have used the COVID-19 pandemic as an excuse to ban the demonstration. Detaining hundreds in cramped conditions poses same risk to public health and could be considered a right to no health violation. Human Rights Watch is now calling on African Union Commission on Human and People's Rights, Economic Community of Central African States, and Cameroon's other regional and international partners to publicly denounce the crackdown on Cameroon's opposition political parties. Human Rights Watch is now urging these groups to press the Cameroon government to hold to account those responsible for violations of rights to assembly, to liberty, and to freedom from inhumane and degrading treatment. This is coming at a time that the AU's 2020 theme is silencing the gun.
A member of Cameroon's upper house of parliament, Senator Mbela Moki Charles, has said that administrators sent to the Fako division in the southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon to execute state assignments have consistently waged a war against the people of the Fako division, and he says that it is time for the people to rise up and put an end to all that. Speaking to our Southwest correspondent Derek Jato, Senator Mbela Moki Charles also aired his views concerning the land tussle between the University of Boya and some inhabitants of Bulu village.
I heard somebody say that students are planted crops somewhere. You cannot give what you don't have. Who asked you to trespass onto somebody's land? They have been sent out the way they came. They came illegally, they go back illegally. No law can give them blessings.
Justifying their intention and action, observers say no further explanation is needed, for it is already clear to everyone that the University of Boya versus the Bulu village on this land has graduated into a conflict.
That the University of Boya and their authority must have been misled by whosoever they have chosen as their legal advisor.
With their research farms now destroyed and their optical fiber lines damaged, students of the University of Boya on their part had announced publicly that they have been hit and they will soon respond.
These are things that can spark a protest in the university. If I'm really calling on the government to say something about this urgently.
I call on the student body to stage a peaceful protest.
To Senator Mbela Moki Charles, the time is now to step in.
You can no longer take it. The time has come for all of us to rise to the occasion and speak out.
And this is his message to the students of the University of Boya.
Let not their hearts be troubled. We and the people who matter in this community are going to stand by the side of the students. We shall not allow their future to be frustrated and endangered by a greedy lot trying to pull down the good intentions of the head of state and president of the republic.
Talking about Bulu village, the Southwest senator on the ticket of the Cameroon's People's Democratic Movement, the CBDM, made a revelation.
No, it is not about Bulu village. The name of Bulu is merely brought in here to facilitate an illegal acquisition of space for personal enrichment, knowing that if this land is acquired, it can benefit the owners and those who want to wrongfully use it. The Bulu people would not desire the amount of hatred that is illegally seized from the University of Boya.
And as an elected official, the determination is total.
This has to stop. This confusion of national activities has to be addressed. And this time, we are ready to take it to the highest level, cry out to the authorities that be, and ensure they listen. If they don't want to listen, we shall use every means at our disposal to cause the head of state to know what is happening and to see with us. It is too much.
The University of Boya, which is an identity of Boya, cannot be allowed to perish, he added.
All of Boya, the University of Boya is a symbol of pride for our community. It is a huge edifice that also carries the image of Boya as majestic as the Fako mountain. We cannot allow it to perish through the whims and caprices of a few and greedy individuals. They have exhibited the extent to which they are gullible and how destructive, damaging, and unpatriotic they are. This must stop. It has to end.
Today on the table is the University of Buea land, but this one-time mayor of Buea says his people are subjected to pain and disregard in many spheres.
It is happening with the University of Buea. It has happened with the CDC. It has happened with our village communities where chiefs and villages are created at random, and administrative authorities are waging a war against our people. We cannot stay hands folded. God did not bring us here to be conducted as slaves in our lifetime. He did not bring us here to be treated as subhumans. He did not bring us here to be molested, humiliated, abused, and denigrated, and undermined, and underrated the way in which we are being treated today.
On the legal note, the administrative bench of the Supreme Court recently ruled in favor of the University of Buea on this land. But the Bulu people, through their legal advisor, is calling on the University of Buea to respect the ministerial order and stay off.
And that whosoever we shall
There are still hundreds of thousands of children who do not have birth certificates in the far north region of the Republic of Cameroon. Over 378,000 of them could not take part in the 2020 session of the Certificat d'études primaires, CEP, equivalent of the first school leaving certificate in the English subsystem of education, because they did not have birth certificates. And the senior divisional officer of the Jamare division is urging the administrators as well as traditional rulers and quarter heads to put hands together to solve this problem, which they are attributing to the low literacy rate in the region, illiteracy, inadequate sensitization, and the remote or the enclave nature of several parts of the region. Innocent as it has more.
Statistics from the National Civil Status Registration Office, BUNEC, reveal that 400,000 children in the far north region of Cameroon in 2019 are not in possession of the birth certificate. As a result, 378,762 children did not write the 2019-2020 Certificat d'études primaires examination of the French subsystem of education in the region. Thus, over 21,000 children do not go to school. According to BUNEC's Far North Regional Director, this is due to parental illiteracy, remote and enclaved nature of most villages that are hard to cover by BUNEC, coupled with weak sensitization. Disturbed by this phenomenon, the senior divisional officer of Jamare division in a meeting tried to understand the wrong and listen to the participants on what could be done to remedy this.
Les chefs de quartier connaissent toute leur population.
This elite suggests quarter heads who know their population can sensitize them on the necessity to acquire the birth documents.
Nous trouvons un bon consensus. Nous devrons sensibiliser les parents et à la fois les chefs de quartier qui seront les responsables à connaître qui a fait un enfant dans son foyer. Et il doit l'appeler à aller déclarer la naissance au niveau de la mairie.
Jean-Marc Ekoambarga, the senior divisional officer, says there is no reason to be advanced as regards non-acquisition of the document by parents after birth of the child until when the child starts going to school and wants to write the CEP exam.
On présente le CEP, le concours d'entrée, c'est-à-dire à 10 ans. Et pendant 10 ans, vous n'avez pas pu faire.
That the council is ready to receive parents for their child's birth certificate.
Donc, nous devons prendre des dispositions.
Dispositions, he adds, must be taken by all heads at their different levels to ensure no child reaches examination class without the birth certificate.
Sans acte de naissance. Ce que nous avons vu à Gazawa l'année passée avec le gouverneur, c'était
Jean-Marc Ekoambaruga has instructed all school heads in his area of command to file in a list of all people so that the administration can discuss with the councils and judiciary for each of them to be established a birth certificate.
378,000 children who couldn't take part in the certificate d'études primaires, except equivalents of the first school leaving certificate examination in the English system of education because they did not have birth certificates, and the administration and other stakeholders are pressurizing or doing everything possible to ensure that these children are not deprived of their right to education. But civil society organizations are saying that government has to do more in order to ensure that these children go to school. Coming up next, we're going to talk about cases of cancer in the Republic of Cameroon, with over 30 cases of breast cancer detected in the last less than 6 months in the country, notably in the Konsamba Regional Hospital in the Mongo Division littoral region of the country. The health personnel are determined to reduce the high mortality rate related to breast cancer. Immaculate Fogwe has more.
Breast cancer, qualified by health experts as a silent killer, is becoming a major cause for concern in Cameroon. The Konsamba Regional Hospital in the Mongo Division has registered 30 cases of breast cancer in an advanced stage in less than 6 months. Cancer can be cured if it is detected early, but if that is not the case, it becomes complicated. A lot of women come to the hospital when it is in an advanced stage, reason why the number of deaths continue to rise. In order to limit the number of cases detected at a late stage, health experts say the population should immediately get themselves tested in a hospital whenever they notice a lump in their breast. Women should always palpate their breast in front of a mirror. Whenever they notice a lump in their breast, they should immediately rush to the hospital. According to the World Health Organization, age, obesity, genetics, stress, lack of physical exercise and high alcohol intake are some of the major causes of breast cancer. In order to raise awareness on the dangers of breast cancer and to ensure that everyone gets diagnosed and treated, health personnel at the Konsamba Regional Hospital carried out a sports walk.
Talking Point is up next. Thank you for staying with us in Talking Points. Today we are receiving a servant of God, Reverend Father Innocent Akum. Is the parish priest of St. Raphael the Archangel Parish, Bojongo, Bonaberi, Douala 4 Subdivision. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you too for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
All right, some of your colleagues, notably the Bishop of Kumbu and other priests like you, and Christians of the 9 parishes of the Kumbu Diocese in the Northwest region were on the streets today, moving from their respective areas to the cathedral, pressing for peace. When you look at that image, do you see something coming out of that?
Yes, actually, it's a starting point. Prayer is always a starting point. And as you know, the church has threefold mission: the prophetic mission, the priestly mission, and the royal mission. And I think in our prophetic mission, it is our responsibility to go out, to talk about the injustices and pray and hope for change. So I think it's a starting point. I will wish and hope that it becomes a national event where as a nation we all gather together, ask for peace, beg for our brothers to be able to embrace peace.
When you say it should become a national event, what exactly are you referring to? Christians from the north to the south, east to the west, the cardinals, the bishops, the archbishops, everybody on the streets calling for peace? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. It should have been a national event for a very long time. Personally, this is a personal opinion. I felt the church has been very slow in that regard, because there are so many lives that have been lost. I know there was an initiative taken by the cardinal, but yet we do not see the Episcopal Conference coming together. This is something which would have been driven by the whole nation in solidarity with those who are also suffering. So if you will ask me, I will ask other bishops and other priests to buy the same idea, so that together we can work for peace.
Together we can work for peace. Now it is started. It's not yet on the national scene, as you said. It's still at the level of parishes, dioceses, some actions coming from here and there. But when you look at what the Bishop of Kumbu and the Christians did today, going out to tell those who are carrying guns, notably civilians, drop your guns, come out of the bushes. This is a call that has been echoed, re-echoed again and again by men of God, politicians, even the head of state, but there are still people in the bush carrying guns.
I think if the church has been making that message and people don't listen, it means the message has not been holistic. The message must be holistic. For us to be able to have peace, and then we have to put everybody together and bring the truth out. I know there are a lot of people who say, oh no, let them just drop their arms. Why are they taking up arms? They can't just drop up their arms. We must sit down around a table and talk about it as brothers and sisters. For me, if you just say they drop arms, it's cosmetic. It's cosmetic because in either sense, a lot of people have been affected. For peace, we don't only talk about the physical peace. There have to be what we call the body peace, the inner peace, and which is what we have to build. And for us to build that inner peace, there must be true reconciliation. When I talk of true reconciliation, it means we must look out for the truth. Who burnt houses? Who and where and why? Then we come and say, okay, they have done it. Can we forgive them? Can we reconcile? We cannot look for peace by asking one side of the divide to drop up their arms. For me, that is personal view, and I believe in it very strongly.
Yeah, and the call is also going to the other side. We've had even the Bishop of Kumbu and other persons like Christian Cardinal Tommy asking the security and defense forces to stop shooting and go back to the barracks. And this is within the framework of the idea that for anything to start, for people to meet on a table, the guns have to stop talking. The guns have to go down. Don't you think so?
I happen to have been in Uganda and Kenya. That is the luck I have. So I have been in situations of war. And I know there is a word called ceasefire. There is a word called ceasefire. And the person who calls for the word declares a ceasefire. Or they agree on a ceasefire. And when they agree on a ceasefire, and then that is when we begin the whole process of dialogue. And you have to gain trust of one another. The first thing is, when we say the boys should drop their arms, they probably don't trust the military. You tell the military to go back to the barracks, probably they don't trust the
pro-independence fighters.
Yeah. So we have to build that sense of trust. And that is where a lot of people have advised that at the stage and at the level which we are, it is not a harm for us to bring a third party. I remember in the post-election violence in Kenya in 2007, there's somebody who came out from outside to mediate. He was not mediating because he wants to take the resources out of Kenya. He's mediating because he wants Kenyans to live in peace. So, I don't know. I really think the church which is me and you for sure, it's not the bishops, the church together, we can pilot this event of bringing people together. We can be the third party. But we can also bring a third party from outside to be able to bring these two parties together.
And this is not far from what the Archbishop, or rather the Archbishop Emeritus of Douala, Christian Cardinal Tumi, was trying to do with the All Anglophone Conference, bringing the people together to get their views together and then forge ahead in the same direction, in the same understanding of the happenings. But this meeting has never taken place. It has been postponed several times, according to the organizers, because of some laxity or some kind of resistance on the side of the government. Now, the church, beyond taking to the streets, beyond calling for peace, beyond preaching peace, beyond saying drop your guns and come let us talk, what else can the church do within this context to be able to press for that much needed change or peace?
You know, when we talk of the church, and I want to be very clear, the church is not the clergy. The church is the people of God all together. And so we end up saying, we Cameroonians, or we living in this land. What do we have to do? We must be messengers of that peace. We must propagate the spirit of dialogue. I'll tell you something. I've been here in Cameroon 2 years after spending a good time in Kenya. The arrogance is everywhere. It starts with me, it starts with you. I can tell you, I'm very sure in this very studio there's a lot of arrogance. That's lack of peace. We must come down together as a family of the people of God to start talking about interest, the common home, the common good. There's a whole lot of individualism, me and myself. And I think for us as clergy, we have to preach that gospel, but the church, which is the people of God, have to embrace it. But unfortunately, it seems that message doesn't sink, because the divide and rule system has embedded in us in such a way that we don't want to see the common good.
And the two parties are asking for forgiveness. The other one is saying, you have to come and ask me forgiveness. And on the other side, you have to ask forgiveness to the nation, and nobody is ready to come down from the high horses, so to speak.
The truth is, there has been violence from both sides. There are a lot of crimes that have been committed on both sides, and we must accept it. When we say that, it's not that we are belittling any government. No, it is just facing the truth. And it is just but right that people come up and say, yes, in the whole process, we've done 1, 2, 3. By the way, if you ask my opinion, I blame the soldiers more than the ambas. Do you know why?
Why? So?
My taxpayers' money trains them in school to be professional. And if they are not professional, they owe it to me because I pay them. Who is the Amba boy? I don't pay him. He doesn't owe me anything. The soldiers owe us something because we pay them by our taxes. And sometimes I find it very difficult when people say, oh, the army. No.
It's professional.
They have to be accountable to us because we pay them. If I don't pay tax, you don't pay tax, nobody pays tax, they will not be paid.
All right, Reverend, we are rounding up. In some few seconds, what happens in Kumbu occurred within the context of the month of the Rosary. What is it, the month of the Rosary?
I think it's a whole month dedicated to Our Lady of the Rosary. And in history, a lot of battles have been won through praying, asking for Mary to intercede for us. And so the church dedicates this time for Christians to be able to pray and to ask our Mother Mary to intercede for us. And if you go back in history, I think it's in 1570, there was a battle which was won over the Turks, and Pope Pius V actually had encouraged the Christians to pray the Holy Rosary, and they were victorious. And so on the 7th of October, he declared that day as Our Lady Feast of the Holy Rosary of Our Lady Queen of Victory. So for us, during this time, we are praying that Our Lady should be able to give us victory. And at this situation, we are asking for peace, we are asking for dialogue, we are asking for reconciliation, and we are asking that the truth should be put on the table and we talk on the truth.
It is about prayer for the intervention of God.
Yes, to touch the hearts.
Reverend Father Innocent Akum, Parish Priest of St. Raphael, the Archangel Parish, Bojongo, Bonabiri, Douala 4 Subdivision. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, just to say I'm a married missionary, so I'm happy also to be here.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us today. Goodbye.